So last night we got 2 new episodes of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. One of them on Disney Plus, which I really enjoyed, and the other one in theaters, which I had very different feelings about. So let's talk about it. Hi, my name is Sean, and I love to talk about movies and TV way too much. With that in mind, go ahead and join me down below in the comments section. Share your spoiler-packed thoughts on the Marvels. This is a spoiler review. Feel free to spoil away down below. No need for a spoiler warning. They were warned in the title, thumbnail, and as I'm talking right now. Also, as I mentioned before, the Loki finale dropped last night as well. I already posted my spoiler review for that with all of my thoughts on that particular production, and I'll have some chapter markers down below so you can skip ahead to specific scenes, topics in the movie that you want to hear my thoughts on, and let's get started. So I've now seen the Marvels 2 separate times, a few days ago with my daughter at a press screening, and then with my whole family last night. In my initial review, essentially what I said was that it's superficially a lot of fun, but the story is messy as can be. It feels like 4 movies duct taped together with reshoots. Rewatching the movie last night, I would totally double down on everything that I said in my initial review, where scene to scene, individual moments, individual characters, I had fun with. But the story, there were so many issues. And ever since I posted my review, my initial reaction being like, it's fun and funny on the surface, but boy, there are issues. So many people have been like, it's fun. Isn't that what you go to movies for? It's funny. You laughed. Isn't that good enough? Isn't it good enough to have some fun? On the one hand, yes, I go to movies to have fun, but I also want them to be good. This movie is like entertaining, but it's not good. It's not a good movie. And for a long time, we expected Marvel movies to be both fun and good. Ever since 2010, people have been dunking on Iron Man 2. Superficially speaking, Robert Downey Jr., still super charismatic. The movie has plenty of jokes that land. There's a number of very cool action sequences. So it has action, it has comedy, it has charismatic movie stars. But the story is messy, cluttered, underdeveloped, and it feels like it's just trying to set up the next episode of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So, for 13 years, people have been like, that's one of the worst Marvel movies. Like, yeah, sure, there's some fun stuff, but there's big, gigantic issues. And I would say people treat Iron Man 3 that same way. I like Iron Man 3, but it's a movie that has plenty of jokes that land. There's a lot of really fun action sequences, but it's subversive in a foolish way, so a bunch of people just have a nasty taste in their mouth about it. Superficially, it's an entertaining film. Superficially, it's funny. Superficially, it's got action sequences, but people have issues with things in the story. That's what we've expected from Marvel, that it's both going to be good, has some heart, has a story, but also, yeah, you're going to have humor, and of course, you're going to have a bunch of big action sequences. The Marvels comes out. Superficially, it is fun. Individual scenes are fun, but it's a disaster on a story level if you step back and think about it. And Marvel movies are designed to be crowd pleasers. They all have humor, action, and usually at the end, there's some sort of tease to get you excited for the next thing. So you leave a Marvel movie excited. You've had fun. They're all designed to be that. They're all crowd pleasers by nature. And so if you left the Marvels at a press screening, if you left last night opening, and if you left the theater and you went throughout the whole movie, I was laughing, I liked the action set pieces, the characters were fun, the movie did its job. I think that's fair. If you had fun, if you enjoyed it, that's fair. I get it. I also had fun. However, if you don't understand why some of us are like, what on earth was that? You just step back and think about the story itself. think about the flow of the story, the editing, and the way that it worked, especially watching it the second time, there were still things I was confused about, still trying to figure out in conversations with my wife on the way home. And it just felt to me like this is a movie that it used the natural charisma of Iman Vellani and comedy as a crutch. So every scene you enjoy because you're laughing. You enjoy the charm of her infectious energy, her optimism, her naivety, her fangirling. You enjoy that. And then you have a cool action set piece where people are swapping places. So that's enjoyable. But the through line connecting all of those individual scenes is one of the weakest in the entire MCU. It doesn't make a lot of sense. And the way these scenes are put together is messy as can be. In this movie, there's so many just sudden cuts where a scene just ends and we're left to just kind of fill in the blanks. And it's even tough to remember exactly which scenes are which because it's just chopping so quickly between things in a very television kind of way. So you have Miss Marvel in space in a spacesuit, and it just like cuts to her with her parents in the living room, and Monica Rambeau is like walking through a corridor with Nick Fury talking about what just happened, and then it cuts back into action. It's just like hard cuts. Scene ends. We're just supposed to fill in the gaps of, okay, they switched one more time, they went back to the right places, and that sequence just ended. But we don't actually see the end to this first swapping sequence. It just cuts to them afterwards. And the whole movie is like that. Characters constantly just appear places. They teleport places, both in the plot, which makes sense, also because there are just like portals that take you all over the galaxy or to different multiverses, different universes, but also just because the movie never fills in the gaps. People just end up places. So once again, at the beginning of this movie, they have several of these sequences where they're hopping places, but our team isn't together yet. So we have this big action set piece where they're hopping all around. They're fighting in the Khan house. We're up on two different spaceships having fights. And the sequence ends. And without any transition, like Kamala's at her house talking with her parents. They've tied up the bad guys. And Nick Fury and Monica just knock on the door. They're just there. They were in space. Space! And they're now at her front door. But it's presented as almost no time has passed. So much so that Captain Marvel is still in the fight sequence that she was doing that initiated all of this. She's still doing all of that. So when they start having their conversation, start swapping places, it's messy because she's trying to like save the day, fight people, because so little time has passed. Like it's no time has passed, but people have gotten from space to her front door because they're just teleported. And all the way up until the end of the movie, intergalactic travel, it's just a portal. You're just wherever you want to be. You're just there instantly. But even beyond that, in the finale of the movie, they just appear in the room with the villain. They are on the spaceship over here trying to like save people with cats. And then it's, let's go stop her. We got to go get her. And they're just on the ship. They're just on there. We've traveled through space, infiltrated an enemy base where apparently all of our henchmen are gone. They're just there. And so I said in my review, it just feels like big chunks of the movie are just missing. This is what I'm talking about. Like, how do people keep getting places? Where's the connective tissue? And it's not like I need you to explain every moment of how everyone got somewhere, but you can't remove all of that. How you get on an enemy ship actually does matter because it's like building tension. Is it difficult to defeat your enemy? Do we have a plan? Oh, you're just there. And there's 3 superheroes. One of them is Captain Marvel, so of course we're going to win. We're just there, no problem. Doop. Like, none of it, just transported. And that's just one thing. People just transporting places all over the time. They're just there. And then they're wherever they need to be next. No explanation of how they got there. But the the story itself has no flow. The movie, it's like the narrative doesn't tell the story. It's not like we're watching events take place and we're filling in the gaps and we go, oh, she wants this for this, and we need to stop it because this will happen. The story doesn't tell us that. The story shows us something, and then it pauses to have characters explain why that mattered and explain what's going to happen next. All throughout the entire movie, that just keeps happening. Instead of having clear objectives throughout the film of like, we need to stop her from doing this by doing this so that this doesn't happen. Instead of like clearly explaining it so we understand what's happening as it goes on, we're just thrown instantly into an action set piece. And at the end of it, they just explain, now I need to do this thing to stop this thing from happening. They just pause because you can't track with it. It's not, you can't track with the story or the mechanics or the rules or any of it with the storytelling itself. So it just needs characters to state it out loud, tell us what's happening rather than storytelling, rather than showing us what's happening. So much so, like like it gets so much worse as you just move throughout the film and into the back 40% of the movie, where you're in the final fight here. And there's a literal moment in the film where Captain Marvel goes, oh no, we can't do that. Our powers are entangled. And they just go, oh no, they're untangled. Even Captain Marvel, the star of the movie, can't track with what's going on. It's unclear what's going on here and what they need to do to stop, to undo the entanglement. It's so unclear that the character of Captain Marvel needs a high school girl to just go, oh no, that doesn't matter. The movie seems to actively avoid clearly telling us Monica's powers so that Monica can just do whatever they need Monica to do at any given moment in time. So, once again, we're at the end of the film and the bad guy goes, I'm going to put on both bracelets to do something. Puts them on, and then everyone's super worried, like, oh crap, you'll die if you do that. Which I didn't know she would die if she put both of them on until that moment. So she flies off, blows herself up. Why? I don't know. It was unclear exactly why she did this, what she was trying to do, or the movie doesn't do a great job of like letting you know the consequences of anything until it happens. So then this rift is torn in the universe. Monica just looks at it and goes, oh crap, it's a multiverse. She says all this mumbo jumbo. She just looks at it and sees like some of that's her powers, but I can see light spectrums. Like, okay, how are you looking at this and knowing exactly what's going on? And then she just goes, hey guys, just shoot me with your powers. I'll absorb it and I'll go in there and I'll pull it together. Like super powered mumbo jumbo. Shoot me, give me all your power, then I'll fly in there and I'll just undo a rift that's torn because a thing that just happened. How does she know how to do that? How do you know how to shoot rays out of your hands and pull reality back together? That feels like that is highly advanced superpower stuff. The day before, she's like, how do I fly? I've had powers for years, but I don't know how to fly yet. And then she just can look at a hole in the galaxy, know it's a different universe, and know if you shoot me with power, how much power do they need to shoot her with? What's the exact amount that they need so she has power to pull a rift together? Like, it's all just made up. It doesn't feel earned. Where I'm going, what I mean by all of this is if you have a well-constructed plot, early on, they set something up. Some sort of power that at the moment, it means one thing, but at the end of the movie, they surprise you and go, that thing we heard about, that thing we thought was a fault is actually a strength. Oh, or they allude to a consequence. If this happens, then that. And you get to the end and you go, oh crap, that thing happened. What are we going to do? And then we're reminded of something else that they set up earlier in the movie. Set up, payoff. And when a screenwriter is really good at it, you don't realize that it's set up until it's being paid off. where it just really smart series of things that feel disconnected, and in the finale of the film, it feels like they all come together in a messy bow, because terrible things are happening, but our heroes are smarter than the audience, and therefore they put it together. And none of that is what happens in this movie. Like, there's just all this talk about portals and all these things going on, but why was there this? She smashes her head, explodes, multiverse portal. Why did all that happen? Because we want to put Monica in a different universe so we can do the post-credit scene. Why else did that happen in this movie? How is that a dramatic, like, how does sending Monica somewhere else act as a dramatic, emotional payoff for her character arc in the film? It doesn't. How does sending her somewhere else, how does going multiverse, how does the portal opening explain, how does that feel like the culmination of the plot that we've been watching? It doesn't. But by doing a multiverse portal where she sacrifices herself, we can put her over here in an end credit scene where people go, oh, it's Beast, the X-Men, we're doing it, we're doing it. Hey, I was their opening day X-Men in the year 2000. I remember being a senior in high school about to graduate, last conversations of high school about X-Men coming out. Like, I remember all of that. I get it. But make your movie about your movie. Make the culmination of your movie, the payoff of your movie, about the story you're telling. Don't just like mumbo jumbo crap together. Oh, shoot me with lasers so that I can fly out there and pull the universe together to send her into a post-credit scene. When are we going to see the rest of this? Yesterday, they posted their new release schedule. We got Deadpool next year. That's the only movie. We have 4 movies coming out in 2025. The year after that, we're supposed to get Blade. We're supposed to get, we're supposed to get our Avengers movie. Like, when are we getting this X-Men movie you just teased? When are we going to see Monica again? Is this happening before my kids graduate high school? Will I be retired by the time this happens? Like, cool, X-Men tease fun, but the culmination of your movie only felt like it happened so you could set up a post-credit scene. It was not the satisfying, dramatic payoff, character arc payoff, story payoff. It just was like at the end of your movie, you came up with mumbo jumbo to get us to that thing. That's the whole movie to me. The whole thing. That it just feels like they don't set anything up. Because you can't. Because the movie was reshot. They greenlit a script that wasn't ready to go. Then they had to reshoot it, and then they went, crap, this doesn't fully work. So they did reshoots, and then they went, let's just make it move really fast. So every individual scene is funny. If you had fun with it, I understand why. Because it's funny. If you had fun with it, I get it. Kamala Khan, Miss Marvel, a lot of fun. A lot of people seem to like Captain Marvel more in this film than I did. Fair enough. If superficially you enjoyed each individual scene and you enjoyed a series of individual scenes from beginning to end, you get to the end of the movie and you go, that was fun. I had a good time. Thumbs up. Maybe 2 thumbs up. I get that. Step back. If you're trying to tell me that the story worked here, that's where I go like, it didn't. And there's no excuse. The budget was too high. They've been doing this long enough. It's from Disney. It's from Marvel Studios. You're bringing in talented director and just running with stuff that makes no sense, that doesn't add up. It just does not work with what you're trying to do. And yeah, I was just so frustrated. Like, anyway, I didn't mean to rant for 20 minutes before I even kick into things, but I was just like rewatching the second time. I was like, yeah, this is a fun scene. This is fun. Wait, this makes absolutely no sense. All right, so first specific topic to talk about, even though I just elaborated on the finale. Now, I guess that this video is all out of order. There are no character arcs in this movie. No one has a meaningful character arc. There's character elements. Miss Marvel's a fangirl and she meets her idol. There's some things they could do there. They almost do, but they don't actually do. Captain Marvel herself What's her character arc here? She owns the fact that she did a bad thing in the past. But not really. Not in a meaningful way. Like, this is what was so frustrating about the movie. They set up what could be a really interesting, really compelling journey for Carol Danvers in this movie. Actually, a very dark Captain Marvel movie. And instead of playing that out, they treat it as a last-minute reveal and a cute little life lesson. Like, Carol, that's not how family works. Go and help them out afterwards. Like we're at the end of an episode of Full House. Just like the kid learns the lesson and then, gosh, they go do the right thing. Let's restructure the movie. Let's say that this is how the movie starts off, with the event where she goes and screws up Hala. She shows up and the scene plays as if Captain Marvel is there to free the people. She's the hero. She's taking out the villain of the first movie. She flies in. It's all heroic. She blows up the Supreme Intelligence. It's victorious. And then we see the catastrophic effects of this as it destroys the environment. The sun turns off. We'll talk about that later on. Sun turns off. And we see the immediate effects on the people on the planet. We see generic villain. No one can remember her name because no one cares. We see her reaction in that moment of her world was just destroyed. Her world was just annihilated by Captain Marvel. The movie starts off with this. And we as an audience get a sinking feeling in our stomach as we just watched the hero show up to liberate a planet. And instead, she led to their apocalypse. And the cold open ends with Captain Marvel, like looking down with dread in her eyes as she realizes she thought she was the hero and she turned out to be the villain. And she does not know how to fix it. And she hates herself for what she just did. And then we do our Marvel Studios open. Does the logo. Cut to Kamala Khan in her living room. Captain Marvel's the best. She's a superhero. And you've created this scenario where the audience knows something about Captain Marvel. Captain Marvel knows something about Captain Marvel. Our villain knows something about Captain Marvel. But our young hero, the fangirl, only sees the fantasy. She doesn't see the humanity. She doesn't see the complexity. So she's fangirling about Captain Marvel. And so part of her journey is to not see the person on the pedestal, not see the romanticized version of Captain Marvel, the hero, but Carol Danvers, the person that is the hero, but also that makes mistakes and has doubts. That's her journey throughout the film, and learning that there's something much deeper when you meet a flawed hero. And that's a more compelling hero. That has layers, that is broken, that has doubts. So you play this out throughout the movie of we know something. And so there's almost this uncomfortability in certain sequences as we're hearing this character praised while we know what she's done. And one of the things that doesn't work in this movie is all throughout the first half of the film, Carol Danvers who's like, stop calling me a Annihilator. I don't like that name. As if she's being bullied. Like it plays it like she's being bullied by the people who she impoverished because they're calling her Annihilator for impoverishing them. She caused them to not have air, water, or sun. She destroyed their world and she plays victim because of this stuff. So all of a sudden you reframe the movie. Now each of these sequences where the negotiations are taking place. The Kree and Skrull think they're trying to fix their own problems because they can't trust Captain Marvel. She made everything worse. She shows up and they're like, please stop. You're not helping. And then it does escalate and gets worse. And we know what's going on. Like we feel that dread in our stomach, the whole sequence, as she's desperately trying to save the day, trying to undo this problem that she created that she can't fix. Here's the problem. You can't make a movie that's fun and funny in every scene if the heart of your movie is that your lead character caused an apocalypse. You can't do that. You can't carry that weight at the beginning of the film. You can't have Carol Danvers causing genocide, causing millions of deaths, maybe billions of deaths, and then cut to Kamala Khan and it's still fun. It's much better. It's emotionally complex. It's layered. It's real. It faces the reality of war, which is it's awful. It sucks. There's no clear winners in war. Everybody loses in war because people die. That sucks. So you own that. You can't make the movie that they made and tell the story that is actually in this movie. The movie is about Carol Danvers killing millions of people. And it never owns that because it wants to be silly. It wants to be funny. A bunch of people left the theater going, that was fun. I had fun. Of course you did. But you can't tell the better version of this movie. You can't own the story that's inside of it. You can't do the actual character arcs that are teased in the movie and also be that fun and also be that silly. Because it doesn't work. It's also it doesn't play as well to an audience. It's not a crowd pleaser, but it's a better film. They had a better movie right there in front of them. They teased it. And I wonder if that's the movie that Nia DaCosta wrote. This is the person that made Candyman a couple years back. I had my issues with it, but this is not a person that made a softball comedy out of Candyman. This is a person that made a movie. My criticisms are that it was too heavy-handed in its tackling of so many different issues from the dialogue at the beginning of the film. It's a person that has layers, depth to her, cares about things, understands real struggles. The movie we have put out there deals with the horrors of war, refugees, and more. But it never actually deals with them. They're just kind of like thrown out there. Oh, refugees, throw them somewhere. Never actually deals with it. But they brought in a director and a writer to make that could have written that movie. I wonder, like I hinted at it in my spoiler-free review. I think that the original version of this movie, or it could be possible, was what I proposed. That all the flashback stuff that halfway through the movie where Ronan the Generic Accuser 2.0 goes, she ruined our planet. She blew up the Supreme Intelligence. I remember. Like the way those scenes even look in the flashback, they feel like it's a scene that was shot. And maybe the movie starts off from her perspective. That was the original version of it. It starts off from her perspective as this optimistic young person that is looking to serve the Kree, and she's not a psycho. And then she sees this monster Captain Marvel come in, cause the apocalypse, annihilates her people, and that's her actual open to her character. All of a sudden, our crappy villain is way better. Because we saw who she was, and we see what Captain Marvel's actions did to her. I think that might have been the original version of the film. That might have been the original structure. That's that flashback. As soon as I saw it, I went, this feels like repurposed something else. Where instead of opening depressing, they turned it into an exposition dump. That's what this whole movie feels like to me. Instead of telling the story, instead of showing us what happened at the beginning, we get an exposition dump so we can tell more jokes. I think Nia DaCosta might have written the movie that I wanted to see. The better version of this film, at least closer to it. And they realized that's not a crowd pleaser. That's not going to work. She said in interviews for months that this is Kevin Feige's film. Like, I know that I was hired to do a job, but it's Kevin Feige's film. I suspect some of that happened. Some of this was reworked like that. All right, another thing I want to talk about here kind of ties into what I just talked about the character arcs not working or not making any sense. I thought the conflict between Monica and Carol rang entirely empty on both sides. Some of it is because the way they decided to reveal this information about Captain Marvel just made it feel like this last minute reveal, like, oh, I didn't want you to be disappointed in me, as if the important detail about her causing genocide was what people think about her. We treat crap, you caused genocide as a, aw shucks, well now you've learned your lesson. Family doesn't work like that. Why don't you fly back there and use your superpowers to try and help them? In 30 years, Carol never thought to use her superpowers to reignite the sun? Is she stupid? She needs her buddy to tell her this? Like, Monica can always just be like, I'll use my laser fingers to pull the galaxy together. Hey, Carol, you're powerful. I bet you can reignite a sun. Just like, kind of just says stuff like, of course you could just reignite a sun. But, like, so she fails to be the superhero that this little girl thought maybe she was. So she never saw her again. She never came back to be like, hey, it's Christmas. Here's a present, never for her birthday, not for her mom's funeral. Like what, after the blip ends, that to come, like nothing, because she didn't want her to know about something you didn't have to tell her about. Like you could just not tell her, by the way, I caused genocide. By the way, like there's things you could have said, you didn't do, like, so it rings hollow. Monica's side makes even less sense to me though, because stop and think about who Carol is to her. Carol is person from when she was very young, then disappeared for 6 years. What happened to Carol? She was in a traumatic accident where she was kidnapped, where she had amnesia, and where she was brainwashed into being someone else. She comes back and makes an offhand comment, hey, see you soon, kid. And Monica, as a grown-up, held this woman who became a savior of the galaxy, who had amnesia, who had a traumatic accident, to this one sentence. I get doing that as a kid. However, when you grow up and you immediately go, oh yeah, so she kind of had something traumatic happen to her. I probably shouldn't hold her to that one sentence. That's weird. That's a weird thing to do. That's not what a healthy grown-up does. And nothing in WandaVision or in this movie indicates Monica is anything other than very normal. Outside of this one thing, her reactions to things have a humanity. She knows how to connect with people. She's traumatized when her mom is dead. Like, all of this is normal and reasonable, except she's holding the superpowered person from space with amnesia to one sentence. That's not really what kids do. That's not really what adults do. It rings hollow, like they're trying to force something. And once again, they have the better version in the movie itself. They have a reasonable way to create a rift between these two people. It's in the film. It's in one of the better scenes in the movie, maybe the only emotional scene in the movie, where they put the weird device on their head, they start seeing memories, and Monica gets mad and she's like, I came back and my mom was dead and no one was there. This is all you need. All the stuff where Carol didn't come back feels weird and strange, and it doesn't feel like a real person. The idea that a grown-up is holding a sentence against someone 30 years later doesn't feel like a real person. However, if she had been there during her childhood and come back a few times, like had come back and was a part of her life, and then the blip happens, and Carol Danvers decides to be Captain Marvel instead of Carol Danvers. And when it's over, she doesn't go and visit her. She knows that the mother died. We've seen scenes that she interacted with the mother while she came back for the mother. She hung out with the mom while the mom had cancer. There were several things, like this was apparently an ongoing thing. She just didn't talk to the little girl. This doesn't ring true. But you could have used this idea right here. I came back and my mom was gone, and so were you. You chose to be Captain Marvel when I needed Carol. And Captain Marvel like, I'm so sorry. You are right. I chose everyone else. I know all the people I saved. I know why I did it. But I needed to be there for you at least for a while. That is so human. That is so like the reality of complex relationships, complex responsibilities, where if you're a person that can save the world, but you also know individuals, every moment Captain Marvel isn't using her power to save people, it means people are dying because she has the power to constantly be saving people. Every time she stops using her powers to save people, they die. because she's so powerful. And she chose to keep doing that rather than having a moment with the person in the world she cares about the most. That's interesting. That's complex. But we're not watching an interesting, complex movie. So it just glosses over that and does the stupid version, which is, you said a sentence to me when I was a child, and I held on to it. What? That's not what humans do. That's not how healthy people are. And you've presented Monica as normal and healthy. That's kind of why she's relatable and fun in the film. It's because she is normal. So she's kind of an evening presence. Captain Marvel's so distant because she's been saving the worlds. Miss Marvel is such a fangirl. And then you have Monica in the middle. That's her point in the film. She's normal and balanced. But you just made it so she's defining her relationship with another person based off one line of dialogue where, like, even I'm trying to understand this. Like, so you knew her when she was like trying to, like, I've seen Captain Marvel a number of times. Didn't she spend like a weekend with her? Like, childhood, pre-accident, comes back as Captain Marvel. They have a fun weekend. She takes off to save the day and help the Skrull. And she's gone for 30 years. You had a fun weekend together 30 years ago and you didn't get over that? Like, am I missing a piece here with it? Where's the other, like, the years of, like, we're so close. You were my second mom and then you were gone in a way that I, as an adult, can't process and understand. I don't buy it. All right, moving right along. This one probably won't be talking as long, but the body swapping. So the whole trailer, all the marketing for this movie is built around the body swapping, which, like, I in all my trailer reactions was like, really? This is what we're doing? And it was a pretty big red flag to me that instead of selling us on the plot or selling us on the villain, they're selling us on the gimmick that they're swapping places. That just feels so episodic. Today, this week on Miss Marvel, they're switching places. And for the first third of this movie, my thought was, this would be really fun as, like, the plot of season 2 of Miss Marvel. This would be actually a really good season 2 of Miss Marvel. And even having seen the rest of the movie and talking with my wife afterwards, this could have been a really fun season of television where you can flesh everything out more and longer. Body swapping, I think, feels very episodic television, so it fits there. Likewise, going to different planets. An episode of a TV show where you go and people are singing, it's a musical episode, that's classic television. Television does that all the time. But when you're watching the, 33rd, 35th movie in a franchise, and all of a sudden you break into song, it's weird. But it fits better in an episode of television. So it would work, played better. So I think it would have worked better. Anyway, we're doing this body swapping. It doesn't actually have anything to do with the plot. It's not like it's like everything else in the movie. It's just kind of mumbo jumbo explanation where it's like, all right, so the bangle, it came from this thing. And then we kind of touched it at the same time. The portal that kind of came from it. You touched the box while I touched this thing. You got the bracelet. So we're entangled now. And we use our powers. We swap places. I mean, it's mumbo jumbo. But it's just that. So we can swap places. But why is this in the movie? Because you don't need it to bring the characters together. Monica and Captain Marvel, there's already a reason that they're working with Nick Fury. Easy. Our villain has a bangle. Miss Marvel has a bangle. Easy. All right. Oh no, bad guy has one of these. Where's the other one? Let's look at our files. She's got one on her wrist, this person in our files. I guess they're connected. All right, team comes together. We don't need to swap places for this to work. So why is it in the movie? And it doesn't, like, it feels very Freaky Friday. It doesn't feel like big, epic, cinematic thing. It feels very comedy level stuff in a movie about genocide and refugees. Why? Because Captain Marvel is too powerful. Captain Marvel, in this movie, you've made it clear she can reignite a sun. That's how powerful she is. Like, as let me try something new today. Boom, reignite a sun. Just go over there and do it. It's pretty powerful. In her last significant appearance, Endgame, she was throwing down with Thanos. The guy that right before that was battling Thor, Iron Man, Captain America. Captain America with Mjolnir too. Like, this guy's throwing down with 3 big dogs of the MCU, one of them a human that can't actually face off against Thanos, but given a weapon that makes it so he can in a very satisfying way. She is throwing down on him by herself. Like, she's taking on Thanos. Nothing in this movie explains why generic Ronan the Accuser 2.0 can face off against Captain Marvel. Now, she's got Ronan's hammer from, what is that, Season 1, Chapter 4 of Fortnite, the big hammer that smashes things. She's got the hammer. But why can she take a punch from Captain Marvel? You got a bangle that can absorb things. Like, it's all, like, all of this is in here to try and nerf Captain Marvel. So if Captain Marvel uses her powers, all of a sudden she switches places with someone else. The movie has to even pause to say this. Hey, I'm sorry, Captain Marvel. If not for the swapping, then you could have just beaten her. The movie acknowledges the whole gimmick of the film is just because the villain is so crappy and so underdeveloped, Captain Marvel's so overpowered that we have to have a gimmick to explain why she wasn't defeated instantly in this film, which she would have been. Even watching the movie, there's 3 very powerful people punching her in the face. I do not know why her face wasn't punched off any one of these times by any of them. Why is she not dying from any of these fights? Because she has a hammer? Because she can absorb things into this? Like, what? That absorbs blasts into this, but she's getting punched in the face. Why? And then she gets defeated because she puts 2 deals on, and for whatever reason that melts her. Like, classic the villain, like, I want super duper power. Uh-oh, I can't handle it. She's gone. But why? I'm not really sure. As for the gimmick, it's just to nerf the lead character because it's like they knew, crap, this movie doesn't make any sense. We haven't done anything to explain why this villain would be successful at any of this in light of how powerful Captain Marvel is. She can't use her powers or else she'll switch places. That's it. Next thing to talk about. So the goal of our villain, one of the goals, one is revenge, one of them is save her planet. And they're kind of combined together in a way that, like, kind of makes sense. So the big thing that the inciting incident of this movie happened actually way before the movie happened. Carol Danvers takes out Supreme Intelligence for some reason that causes their sun to turn off. And therefore, because of all this, their air isn't breathable, their water is dried up, and they don't have a sun. Which, like, if you're just like doing this roller coaster movie where you're flying from planet to planet and you're just like, we need the air from this planet. All right, we need the water from this planet. We need the sun from this planet. Like, you're just moving along. You go, okay, cool. Yeah, it's clear what she wants, why she wants it. And she'll destroy each of these planets for the sake of saving the one planet. Until you stop and think about that. Wait a minute. So a planet hasn't had a sun that's burning for 30 years and didn't freeze over? What? Like, you're telling me it's the dire consequence. The water's all gone. The air is not breathable. Well, right. Air comes from trees. If you don't have water, if you don't have sun, the trees are gone. Likewise, if you don't have the sun, keep this in mind. Our sun is so far away, so many dozens of millions of miles away, that it takes light 8 minutes to get here. But it burns so hot that many million miles away, we're still warm enough to exist on our planet. I'm not a scientist. Obviously, these are not movies meant to be like science experiments, but you have to have something at least kind of in reality. Something that makes things plausible. I've been reading this book right here on the making of the MCU, and it talks about when they're making Iron Man, that the big word that was on Jon Favreau's mind was plausibility. And it was kind of building off of something Richard Donner said about Superman, the movie that he made back in 1978. His fancy word was verisimilitude. which this idea of it has to, like, we're having a man fly, but it has to feel like it exists in a reality that has rules. There has to be something anchoring it. This is a word that I believe Robert Meyer Burnett likes to use it a lot. He gets it from Richard Donner. Richard Donner talked about it extensively in these Superman special features. So, but it's like very famous that was his key word. It was verisimilitude. So Jon Favreau had his own word, plausibility. From the beginning, we're going to put a man in a metal suit, but it has to be plausible. It has to feel like we're in a reality that makes sense. All right, here we go. If you can see that, it's right there. I'll try and remember to take a picture of this to send it to you. Verisimilitude and plausibility. You have to have a world that feels plausible, that has some logic, like you're playing by some rules that make sense so that things matter. You're not just making crap up. We already talked about earlier, they are just making crap up. Plausibility. These movies take place in an existence where suns exist. Suns matter because they provide heat and light, which are important. You just said this one sun burned out years ago. All of our verisimilitude is gone. All of our plausibility is gone now. Because we're now in a world where a planet can exist for decades without a sun. And okay, let's play this out. Let's say like they don't need the heat. So it's like, but so they went into the darkness and they're mad. Like maybe they would make some argument. The movie doesn't even play it out like that. There's like people outside and they're like, no, it did screw things up. Now the water's gone. So they don't have water. They don't have clean air to breathe. So we have a planet without light, heat, water, or air. And people still live on the planet. What are you talking about? In this movie itself, first up, we open a portal, suck the air out of a planet, and our immediate thought is, oh no, all those people just died. Everyone died on that planet because you sucked the air out of it. The other planet hasn't had air for decades, or breathable air for decades. Oh no, Princess Carol planet of water, it's going to be destroyed because they're taking the water. They're all going to die. But the people on the planet that hasn't had water for decades, they didn't die. They're still living there. Oh no, everyone on Earth is going to die because they're going to take the sun. Wait a minute, there's a planet that hasn't had the sun for decades. There's a planet that hasn't had water for decades. There's a planet that hasn't had air for decades. What are you talking about? All the reason that all three of these planets are being destroyed already happened to this other planet, Hala, decades ago. Even beyond that, Hala doesn't have an atmosphere, so open a portal to give clean air to Hala. Suck the air out of one planet like we're, letting the air out of a balloon into another balloon. That's a weird analogy. I don't know how long a planet's worth of air will last on another planet. What I do know is that it's not forever. You need plants. I exhale carbon dioxide. They breathe in my carbon dioxide. They exhale oxygen. However that works. I was in grade school a long time ago learning about this. However, all she did was give them a can of fresh air. Spaceballs. Or what is it? It's also, what is that one from the Lorax? Fresh cans of fresh air. All she did was give them one breath of fresh air. There's still no plants because you haven't had water or sun for decades. So stealing their atmosphere, it doesn't solve the problem. But even get to the end of it, they're stealing our sun. What does that even mean? There's no explanation. We're gonna open a portal and suck our sun into that sun. What does that mean? What's the mechanism? What's the site? It's just they say they're doing something mumbo jumbo outlandish and they just do it. And the whole movie's that. We're going to suck. Oh no. What else? Their sun. They need our sun. And we just cut to portal opening up, sucking the sun into another sun. Whatever that means. All right, other thing you got to talk about in here, the singing planet. So we're going through this movie and she goes, oh, there's a planet with water and it's a joke. How do you know that? Why? That seems awfully specific. Turns out she's a Disney princess on this planet and it's a singing planet. So it gets very silly and tons of reviews, even mine, like dunking on it for this bit that goes on too long. And I'd agree with all of that. I think it would have played better as an episode of television rather than you're watching a movie and it's like, really? We're doing this bit for 10 minutes? That's actually not the part that's not the deeper problem. Superficially, that's easy to pick on. There's a silly music number. It's funny. Like, it's easy to pick on a Marvel movie that suddenly has a song and dance number where they take Captain Marvel, turn her into a Disney princess, and she starts singing to her prince. It's easy to pick on that. It's silly fun. I thought the bit was too long. I don't think it worked, but who cares? What I do care about, we are watching the shortest MCU film that feels like it's the sequel to 4 different shows, a movie. It's setting up future projects. It's got a lot of characters. It feels like it's a sequel to a Captain Marvel movie we haven't seen. And then we pause for 10 minutes to do a dance number. It's a one-note joke that they sing on this planet. And so then they're singing to her, and then they're singing to introduce her. Oh, he's bilingual. He can talk. It's all the same joke. And then she's singing. So this joke for 10 minutes, it goes like, and she shows up on the planet to tell him, by the way, the apocalypse is coming. Guy's coming. He's going to suck all the water off your water planet. We got to go to war. She shows up to tell him the apocalypse is coming. But before all of that, she's like, we got to go through a whole routine. We got to sing. We got to dance. And then at the end of it, she's like, by the way, we need to talk. Cuts to a scene on a space station about meatballs on the space station. Cuts back. And it's like, all right, we're ready for war when people show up. And then immediately we're in an action sequence. So when I say that this movie feels duct taped together with reshoots, when I say that it feels like big chunks of this movie are missing, that's what I'm talking about. Like, she shows up somewhere to tell someone she cares about and that deeply cares about her, you're all about to die. And it cuts from silly to we're about to go to war and nothing in between. I guess the guy that plays the prince is famous in something. I'm not familiar with what he's in before. I even had someone from my church message me, how much is he in the movie? I'm like, I don't know who the guy is. You're going to be disappointed. Like, he has this one little bit and then he's in a fight, but he doesn't have any normal scenes. He doesn't have any arc, no development at all. This feels like there was more here. Otherwise, what are you doing? Why would you do it? Like, what is going on here that it doesn't treat the impending doom of their planet as if it's anything? And then they have a war there. Battle breaks out. They have to leave. Oh, crap. Bad guy knows that she's got the bangle. Let's get out of here. Captain Marvel's like, oh, no, I can't do this again. I can't do this again. What are you talking about? Let's have our exposition dump. This planet with her prince and with the people that adore her, that were just singing and dancing with her 5 minutes ago, I guess are about to die. They're in a war that she brought to them. They're all about to die, and we just move on immediately. I don't know what happened to them. There might be a line of dialogue at the end I think there's a line of dialogue where they go, I think the planet's going to be okay. There's some line of dialogue like that. I don't know if they're talking about Earth, Hala, all of these planets. Like, I don't know which one fall into that category, but we don't get a follow-up on, did her prince die? Did you introduce her legal husband, her prince, and kill him off? Destroy his people? Like, what happened to them? That matters more to me than that we did a 10-minute singing number, because that's the storytelling, the emotional weight of this. Does the movie care about the consequences of Carol's actions? No, it does not. It cares more about making you laugh. I know this is a roast review. I know that. But that's because everything good about the movie is Miss Marvel is super charming and it's fun and it's funny. That's everything good about this movie, and then some teases at the end. But all the in-between that ties together all the jokes that I can elaborate on, it's all bad, and it doesn't make any sense. And it compromised what could have been the better movie. Having a film with emotional stakes. Carol owning the consequences of what she did. Miss Marvel learning that her hero is not the person that she thought she was. And learning to respect her more as the person, not the icon, not the thing on the pedestal. That broken humanity is far more interesting and compelling and valuable than imaginary fantasies. No, we didn't do that because it's not fun to pause and go, oh crap, she got her prince killed. Oh crap, all those people that adore her are dead now. All those cute dancing children, they've been murdered in the street and they've lost all their water and their environment collapsed. Their atmosphere collapsed because, like, that's not fun. We can't deal with the consequences and we don't even know. Like, did nothing happen? Did they win the battle? I don't know. Because the movie just moved on. All right, so now we're kind of moving into the third act of the film, and I'll first kind of talk about the space station side quests. Once again, this is where I feel like the movie feels like big chunks are missing, like it was cobbled together from reshoots and restructuring the movie, because you get to the end of the film, and it just feels like you have all these kind of disconnected things happening that you're like, what, huh? And you start even being like, did they only do all this space station stuff because they were just so committed to the Flurkin bit? Is that all this was? So you're watching the movie, and, you know, in movies like this, you have the people at headquarters. The guy on the phone, as Ned talks about. Ned's the guy on the phone. So Nick Fury films comic relief in his space station. They're the guy on the phone telling science stuff to send people where to go. Fair enough. Okay. But for some reason, this turns into this whole subplot. I imagine it was something much bigger in the original version of the film, where all of this was made more sense. Like, why on earth, on a plot level, why on earth did Nick Fury take civilians into the Saber space station? Remember, in their living room, Monica answers what Saber stands for, and immediately Nick Fury corrects her for revealing classified information. So he's thinking, classified information, we don't want to tell them too much. Tell them what they need to know, but not too much. 30 minutes later in the movie, it just cuts to Nick Fury has her whole family on a space elevator going to the space station where the acronym for what it stands for is classified, but he is taking them to it. One of the plot lines in the movie is that these portals are opening and it's causing like chaos, and they're trying to figure that out, and that leads to eventually the station like falling apart and they have to evacuate it. The space station is not safe. It's classified, it's dangerous, there's issues, and Nick Fury brings civilians up to it. Why? On a plot level, why? Like on a filmmaking level, they're charming and fun. So you want to have more time with them. There's no reason to have them on Earth. So let's put everyone in one place. Okay, I get that. It's funny to have the civilians being like making their common person like observations about the space station and aliens. It's funny to be like, oh yeah, it's never too early to start for retirement. How old are you? 300. Oh, and then the son goes, same age, you two. Funny, cheap little jokes. But it's all side quest crap, and it doesn't make any sense, because why on earth would Nick Fury take them up to the space station? There's no reason for them to be there. Likewise, we're on the space station, and as like the way the movie plays, you're just watching it, and then somebody goes, what's that meatball over there? I don't know. There's just meatballs showing up on the space station. And I like first I was watching like, what? This feels weird. Like, why are we suddenly talking about meatballs? Like, what is this? How does this tie into anything? And then watching it a second time, even more so, I was like, yeah, just all of a sudden they're like, crap, there's meatballs on here. And in the middle of, oh crap, we're about to have an apocalypse on this water planet. We got these eggs on the ship. These meatballs are eggs. What does this have to do with anything? Nothing at all. So then we get into our third act. And because the portals are opening, and whenever they use the portals, it causes this rupture. This causes problems for the space station. So why on earth Nick Fury is bringing people? I don't know. Why did they not flee sooner? I don't know. But it's just like very suddenly they go, oh crap, we don't have any escape pods. We don't have enough escape pods to get out of here. And the space station's about to blow up. Like, it's very cluttered. Like, it's not clear at all what's kind of going on. Like, you piece it together. I guess it's crumbling because of the portal thing, but not smooth storytelling at all. Everyone's gonna die. We can't get everyone out of here. And then it's revealed all of these meatballs are Flurkin kittens. Thus leading to the cat bit with cat eating. I thought it was funny. I thought it was really funny. I'm fine with the bit as a funny bit. I got a kick out of it. It's so ludicrous, but it fits in with what was established with these Flurkins. It's a fun concept. I wish they would have gone one further and say, what if a Flurkin that had eaten 9 people, what if a Flurkin eats 9 Flurkins that has eaten 9 people, so there's 81 people in this one Flurkin? Like, maybe they could have gone and let's do exponential eating of people. I thought the bit was funny. A lot of other people thought the bit was too silly, went too far. I enjoyed this one. Both times I watched it, that's funny. And we're playing Memories from Cats. My son was like, what's this song? I was like, it's from Cats. It's funny if you're cultured like me. So, here's the problem though. All of this time, shortest MCU film. We don't have time to develop characters, our villain. We don't have time to explain how people got anywhere, but we stop to have a side quest with no explanation as to why right now Flurkin eggs are appearing on this ship. Why right now? Except it needed to happen for us to be able to do the bit. Once again, feeling like a very last minute addition, whether that was reshoots or whether that was writing and they're like, what if they did like a Flurkin's 8 people to escape? Just this last minute addition. But it's not set up in a way that makes sense. It's not because this thing over here that was happening at the beginning of the movie, and you're not like, you get to the end of it and you go, oh, that makes sense. Just randomly, Deus Ex meatballs, they show up as a solution to do a bit. We don't need the space station to be destroyed in this movie for the plot to make sense. We're already threatening the entire Earth. The space station doesn't matter. This whole thing is a side quest. Everything on the space station, everything is a side quest, wasted screen time to do this one cat bit. Because they didn't write a script that could set the cat bit up in a meaningful way. Let's play this out differently. Rearrange our movie. We need a sequence. We want to do this Flurkin bit, and we want to save people. There's a sequence in the movie where they're desperately escaping a planet, trying to fit everyone onto a ship. I guess that's once again a problem with this movie. It repeats this same bit. We got to get everybody on this ship before it's too late. They have a planet in the movie with refugees where they're trying to get everyone on a ship earlier. We don't need to add a side quest about the space station. Do it with the Skrulls. Set up or also like if you do this as a TV show, this is your Trouble with Tribbles episode. Flurkins. Trouble with Flurkins. Fun times to be had. They have a sequence in the movie where you could have done the bit where it wasn't a side quest. And you could have set something up on the planet where, because Captain Marvel came here with Goose, all of a sudden we have Flurkins popping up everywhere and they keep eating people and vomiting them up. Maybe it's too silly of a bit for a refugee camp, but you set it up. Captain Marvel causing problems. Once again, refugee camp, her cat gave birth to these flurkins that keep eating people. So it's played as a joke that the place is infested with flurkins. Then the air's being sucked out. They're running out of air. They have to get out of there. They've only got a couple ships. But they've got a bunch of flurkins. So they realize, and you do the same exact bit. Same bit. And it ties into the actual plot. It's set up in the movie. Captain Marvel and her flurkins having babies here. And so it's a joke. You think it's about that, but the joke, an earlier problem, becomes into a later solution. As opposed to, what are these freaking meatballs? What? Why are we talking? We're 60% of the way through the movie. Why are we talking about meatballs? Why are we talking about eggs? What is going? Oh, you're just setting up a joke. This is the setup for your punchline, as opposed to organic storytelling. All right, then we'll talk about our final boss fight in here. This is another one where watching the movie just feels like there's a big chunk of the film just missing. I actually, back to what I was just talking about with the flurkins, I wonder if that was more of a plot point. I wonder if there was more to that. I wonder if there was other stuff with the space station that they just trimmed it out. There was some explanation with the family why they were taken up there, and they trimmed it out, so all of a sudden they're there for no reason, just to make jokes. But then again, in the movie, Nick Fury's only there to make jokes too. Nick Fury, Samuel L. Jackson, leading man, fantastic actor, comic relief, side character in a movie with 3 other leads taking the place for him. Anyway, boss fights. Another place just feels like pieces are missing. So we're on the space station. The ladies realize we got to go over there to save the day. They just appear on the spaceship of generic Ronan the Accuser 2.0. Just show up. No explanation how they got there. Like, some of these people can fly through space. Some of them cannot. So get onto the spaceship. They're just there. Where is the army? The first time I watched it, I thought, did I miss something? Was there a scene? Like, did they say something? Watch it a second time. They go to the ship. There are no other people on the ship. Her entire army is just gone. It's just her on the ship. And like earlier in the movie, there's all these scenes about her crew being like, don't do this. It's dangerous. We need to slow down. The first half of the movie, they do that. All those characters just disappear. They're just gone. Once again, feels like this was going somewhere. All of the multiverse portal consequences feels like that was something that was pivotal to the third act that was replaced by flirkin jokes. All of it's gone. All those characters are gone. The army's gone. And our characters just appear on the ship for our fight. We have our fight. They're kind of victorious. Like, even they're like, hey, Captain Marvel, why don't you just fly in the sun and fire it back up? She's like, I don't know how to do that. I do stuff all the time I don't know how to do. Oh, good point. I guess I can reignite a sun just by flying into it. And then our villain, who's evil. And it's this once again where if you set up the villain properly, here's a moment where you can expose what's really going on with the villain. Is the villain's primary value set revenge or saving her people? Which one is it? If you build the villain up properly, you get to this moment and the villain makes a choice. Love of people, hatred of Captain Marvel. But it doesn't do that. It's right there. Like, literally, you had the moment. There's so much of this. I wonder if Nia DaCosta wrote and shot a good movie that was also funny. And in the editing room, they converted it into a bad movie that's really fun and funny, but it's chaotic nonsense. So all emotion is sucked out of this thing. And she just decides, I'm going to put both bracelets on and die. What was she trying to do? I'm not really sure. Well, I've already kind of talked about this. But once again, you get to the scene in the movie where this portal opens up. And the whole movie, they've been talking in the background about how when she uses this deal and opens portals, it gets unstable. The whole movie, it's been talking about that in the background, but it's never in the foreground until this moment. The movie is not about trying to stop her from doing this because it's tearing apart the fabric of existence or what, reality. The movie's not about that. Perhaps the movie should be about that, but it's not. And it's not clear what the movie is about. Like, the movie's not about them trying to get untangled. It's kind of about trying to stop her, kind of not. Kind of about trying to save people, but kind of not. Like, it has all these different conflicts that all kind of tie together, but it's not clear, like, what actually is the goal? What are we trying to do? What's its objective here? So all of a sudden, you get to the end, and our villain has been defeated, and now we have a new gigantic conflict that could destroy the galaxy. We already almost destroyed the Earth, and it was like an afterthought. The Earth was almost destroyed from lack of sun, and you don't feel it at all. You don't feel any tension from it. Now, reality's about to be destroyed, and you don't feel any tension from it. Because Monica just looks at it, and she goes, oh, you guys shoot me with a blast, and I'll just pull it together. None of these powers are set up. None of these rules are set up. This consequence wasn't set up. None of this was set up. We're just now at the culmination of the movie. The idea of Monica sacrificing herself isn't set up. There's a little bit of the idea that Carol and Monica have just reconciled. Like, that's in there a little bit, but not in a way that makes it feel like, oh no, we just got back together and now I'm losing you. Because the movie moves too fast for us to be able to feel that. And everything's just jokes. Joke, exposition. Joke, exposition. So you can't feel what could be in this moment, which is, I finally got you back, and now I have to lose you. And even in the moment, they don't even play it like that. They play it as, I'll just go out there and heal it. So she flies out there and she goes, I can't come back. This was always the plan. And so even where they could have had the emotional moment, they could have had the emotional beat, where she goes, I'm not Lieutenant Trouble anymore. I'm Captain Rambeau, and this is what I need to do to save my family. I love you, but I have to let you go this time. I understand now why you did what you did. Make my better movie that's all about the choices Captain Marvel made and the hard choices, letting go, why you do things, and build up to this moment where it's like, I get why you did what you did. I get the burden. It's my burden now. I need to go do this. So she flies off, sacrifices herself, and make it the culmination of an arc. She's trying to learn the consequences of being the hero, the weight of being the hero, the burden of being the hero, the hard choices of, do I save everyone or am I here present in the moment for my friend and my family? And finally, she's the person that can make the choice. My life, my friendships, for everyone. And she understands finally the choices Captain Marvel had to make in the past as to why she wasn't around. You obviously rework the different pieces. So, like, it's a character arc. It's a culmination. It's emotional payoff. It's a journey. Monica has learned and grown. Captain Marvel wasn't right in what she did. And so that's what she's had to grow and accept on her own part. And of owning what she did in the past, growing, connecting with people, not doing it on her own. Monica learns the burden of being a hero. Miss Marvel learns that heroes are people, too. And that, like, everyone learns and grows in this moment. Oh no, we're finally a family. We're finally a team. But I need to go stop that. So she goes in, boop, sacrifices herself, she's gone. And it's the payoff of the film. It's a payoff of the character arc. And it set this up properly in the movie. All of a sudden, instead of this moment feeling like, well, that only happened so that we could do the Beast bit at the end. Instead of that, it feels like the emotionally satisfying culmination of all three characters' arcs. In the movie that we saw, it was empty. Like, I always knew I couldn't come back. And then we see Captain Marvel, like, crying in space. Like, that was it. As opposed to, like, an arc, a journey, an emotionally satisfying conclusion. You had the pieces right there. You just did the shallow version without emotion so that we can cut to a joke right afterwards. Alrighty, we got a couple different teases at the end of this movie. Really only one mid-credit scene. The last scene of the movie, though, overtly feels like a mid-credit scene because it's playing off of the original post-credit scene, Nick Fury and Iron Man. It's a play off of that. So it feels like it should be one of these deals. So it's kind of, we get two teases at the end. First one, last scene of the movie. Someone walks up to a door in New York City. You see a little bow and arrow. It's Kate Bishop. And then Miss Marvel does the whole Nick Fury, you're part of a bigger world deal. I loved it. I want to see this movie. I think Iman as Miss Marvel is super charming, charismatic, and great. I think Haley as Kate Bishop is great. I don't understand why people didn't enjoy Hawkeye more. I think you guys are way off base. If you didn't like the finale, if you didn't like the handling of Kingpin, fair enough. If you didn't like the ride up to that point in time, I'm confused. Like, she's a lot of fun. Her dynamic with original Hawkeye, a lot of fun. I want to see more of this character. So I loved this little tease, even her little reactions. It felt true to her character. Like, I'm like, yeah, I want that movie. We only got one movie next year. We got 4 movies the year after that. The year after that, we got some Avengers movies. When are we getting this Young Avengers film that you just teased? That's where these teases start to feel empty. They don't feel like they have weight to them because when am I going to see Harry Styles again? When am I seeing the Eternals again? When am we going to follow up on the Celestial popping out of the ocean? When am I going to see Shang-Chi again? You've teased so many things that I go, oh, that's exciting. Wait a minute. Am I ever even going to see this thing? I want to see that movie. I like this tease. When am I going to see it? Then we get the mid-credit one, and it both is closes out a plot point. We all knew we're going to see Monica in a mid-credit scene. If you didn't know that was coming, that they're going to multiverse. Like, all right, multiverse. What's the payoff going to be? That you know that this is going to have something. What's it going to be? So, no surprise that they brought her back, but what was the tease going to be? And it's Kelsey Grammer as Beast, which was leaked on the internet. I didn't necessarily believe it, but I heard that like a month ago. I don't know whenever it was, but it was out there. That sucks. I'm not into leakers or anything like that, but that was out there before I'd heard it. So when he popped up, I was like, oh, I guess the leakers were right on this one. The other one in here is that her mom doesn't know who she is. This is an alternate timeline where her mom was the one that got the powers. I guess I don't know this comic book character, but I guess this is Binary, who has ties to the X-Men. That's why the connection is here. Hey, I was there at all the X-Men movies, opening day, going back to the year 2000. I watched X-Men, the animated series, early 90s, from when it originally debuted. I had the toys. I had the Pizza Hut tape of Night of the Sentinels, the first episode that they put out. I had all that stuff. So the nostalgia, ooh, he's back. Hey, I get all of that. I'm excited to see what they're going to do with this. I don't know, of the ways to bring X-Men over, using Binary, using her mother, and Kelsey Grammer as Beast, these aren't the most exciting ways to do it, but it's exciting that you did it. Did it put a big grin on my face? Yeah. Did I look over and see my wife go, oh, in her seat last night? Yeah, I did. That was fun. All of that, I dug it. It's the same, like, really? Wait, Beast? That's the one we're going with as our X-Men show. And once again, when are we following this up? Which one of these projects in the next 2 years could have anything to do with any of this? None of them. None of them, it seems obvious. When are we going to get the X-Men? When are we going to get this multiverse story? Is all of this going to get paid off in 3 years in Secret Wars or what? Like, that's where some of this, once again, there's the immediate, it's Beast! Look, they're at the X-Mansion! He's Professor Xavier, you said it! When are we actually going to get something? When's it happening? I don't know. But did it put a big grin on my face, both of those teases? Yes, they absolutely did. Alrighty, let's close this deal out. I know that this was a roast review. As I said several times in here, it's tough for me to, like, talking about this movie, there's nothing for me to elaborate on with the positives. The jokes made me laugh. There's jokes in every scene. So I laughed from beginning to end. I liked Miss Marvel. She's charming. She's in almost the whole movie, so I enjoyed her in the movie. I enjoyed the jokes. I enjoyed when she would like slide and kick someone in the face, and some of the swapping fight scenes were done really well. I liked those. There's nothing to elaborate on. The story didn't work at all for me. The script made no sense. And I don't know what the script was. I really think Nia DaCosta probably turned in a good script that was much better. But it was dark and it wasn't fun. The thing that people are praising about this movie, I don't know that that's what the original version of the film was. And maybe the reshoots were like, now Nick Fury is a stand-up comedian that only speaks in quips, and we're going to trim every scene to its bare bones, and so we can just get to our joke and then say where we need to go next and move on. We're just going to make that's the movie. We're never going to deal with the weight of anything that was implied here with refugees, planets destroyed, genocide. We're not going to deal with any of the emotional weight of it because that's not fun. And that's what this movie's about. Superficial fun. So it's a blast. It's about genocide. It's about refugees. It's a blast. Is it? It's funny. It's fun. But it never deals with its emotional weight. It's choppy as can be. Feels like big chunks of the movie are missing. It feels like we cut out whole sequences, and so then you just duct tape these two pieces together with a piece of exposition. Exposition to fill in the gaps. Don't want to do that depressing intro. All right, reshoot with her stating what happened here later on in the film. We'll just cut that stuff in. That's what the movie felt like to me. I don't like to do roast reviews of franchises that I love. I grew this channel on the MCU. I love the MCU. I have stated in videos it's my favorite movie franchise of all time. Right now it's not. I don't know what is, but it's not currently with its current output. It's too hit or miss. There's no joy that I get out of it. Actually, it's fun to roast things. So the process of making fun of things is kind of fun. But I don't want to be in a position where I'm doing this for something like Marvel. I don't know who's to blame here. Because this doesn't feel like any one person's movie. James Gunn clearly wrote and directed Guardians 3. This movie was written and directed by committee. Reshot by committee. All the MCU Parliament this book talks about, it's that crap. And they made it superficially. Every scene has jokes and action to make you laugh, put a smile on your face. But it's all a crutch for a story that does not work. Let me know what you guys thought down below. Keep talking movies and TV too much.